All right, Phil and Will are back, and we just had our third episode of Survivor Worlds Apart. This is a pretty good season so far. I've been pretty impressed. Tonight was a little bit of a predictable boot, but it was still really well edited. So we're going to bring it all to you. We're going to recap the entire episode from the beginning to the end. We're going to go over our boot list, and I think we've even tried here to figure out the internet difficulties, and I think Will might have something in store here that solved it. So here's Willie in a new area that I still don't even know.
I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I am now closer to the internet router. And what happened? My roommate is an actor, so he has to like put up this backdrop he has to sometimes film auditions and then send them to casting people or executives or stuff so they can look at it if they don't have time to like bring them in. And he like left this up, and I was just like, this would look good behind me instead of like my silly room with that spray paint art. And it's in the living room, so it's closer to the router. So hopefully the internet is better, and hopefully this looks it looks good. The only problem with it is the lighting is a little weird, and it makes my hair hair look red, and my hair is not red at all. There's no red strand. Nothing against redheads.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, I've been doing mine in a basement every week, so you're not quite at my level, but you're getting there. You're moving down.
Moving
So
down. This is moving up. This looks better, I think.
it looks better. This is your audition. It's your little audition for something. We don't know what for though, but this is Willie's audition tape for Survivor.
Okay. All right. Enough about
Let's
this.
just go.
I'm in my living room now. Okay. Where do you want to? Let's just start off. So we open with no caller, and surprise, surprise, Nina is throwing a fit, even though she didn't go home. Like she really was close to going home if Will had voted with the alliance of three. So she should have just been happy to be there. Instead, she starts complaining.
Yeah, I mean, with Nina, you're going on this show. You know that your disability is going to be at the forefront, but you have to be somewhat prepared for that. I'm sure she was, but her whole strategy here was everybody needs to pity me. And, like, that can't be your only strategy. And that's all I got watching this whole little segment here was Nina wanted everybody to feel bad for her. She was still in the game. I don't understand why she was upset. She should have gone home. She doesn't even realize that she saved herself. Like, she should just be happy to be there, and this is when you try to make a new start. You see your name on that parchment, and now is when you have to make a change. And instead, she just goes back and does more of the same, ostracizing herself further from the girls who already are there to have a good time, and she's annoying them. Really, that's all she was doing was annoying them.
Yeah, and I thought this scene did a good job. It showed clearly Nina saying, "I'm the next to go. I'm the next to go." And everyone was like, how can you say that right now? Vince just went home, and none of us here thought that was going to happen except for Will. Like, that was just a shock to everybody except Will. So I don't know if she was so adamant about that. And no one said, let's not go to tribal council again. How about, what if we win, No one even brought that up. So for her to say, I'm next, I'm going home, it's like, come on, you're just begging for sympathy at that point. Also in this opening scene, Joe said, I don't trust Will as much. He didn't, vote the right way. And he became wary of Will. So right at the forefront of the episode, we have Nina, Will, not in the best positions on the no-color tribe.
This has been a great edited season so far. And one of those main things happened right there in that first scene. They told you that Joe didn't trust Will. And then for the rest of the episode, Nina was still the obvious boot. But they really told you a story of why Will could go, and they made it believable from the beginning because it was really well edited, and there was a lot of good reason to get rid of Will, and Will is clearly the next one to go if they lose because he's just not trustworthy at all. I thought he was gone tonight.
And not only was it edited well in the beginning, even in the previously on Survivor, they included the Will struggling in the challenge, and that was not necessary to show, Will and the buoys with the ropes having a problem. They didn't need to show that to tell the story of what happened last episode in the votes and how that all went down. So they included that to show you, hey, Will messed up this challenge, and they kind of foreshadowed Will again failing at the challenge. So, I mean, you said it was a predictable boot in the beginning. I don't know if I would say, like, predictable, but I guess it's not an important boot because whichever one of these people
Everybody had a good idea Nina was going. That's what I'm saying. like Nina was everybody's prediction for like most people's prediction. If no caller went to tribal, most people were thinking before this episode started Nina was going. CBS just did a really good job here showing how it could not be Nina, and actually we were both sitting there. We both thought it was going to be Will for a period of time.
Right, when the challenge started, and Will was clearly just, it wasn't a challenge building to Will's strength. I don't think any challenge really is, unless it's maybe one of the, lifting things. Eating something maybe, yeah. But usually when we have this kind of up in the air, we get this a lot, like it's a person A or person B going into tribal. The alliance, the majority alliance knows who they're voting for, and they all vote the same way. This was not the case this time. Haley voted for Will. So I think it was closer to Will going home than it was just sort of CBS editing. I think they really were seriously considering Will.
Yeah, and I think we can get into that later, but I do think that going into tribal, Jen might have been voting for Will. And then because Nina kept bringing up the deaf thing, I really just think it annoyed Jen. And Jen's out there clearly to have a good time. They showed her this whole episode. She's just wanting to have a good time. The first 2 episodes, she wanted to have a good time. Sure, she wants to play the game and win, but at the same time, she wants to enjoy every moment of it. And Nina was completely hindering that experience for her. And I think that she might have changed her vote at the last second to get rid of Nina.
Yeah, I think Nina just shot herself in the foot, that whole tribal council. And we'll get to it later, but I think her not eating the lizard may have just cemented her fate. Just in that one little thing. We'll talk about that later. But so the next scene was White Collar. And this just keeps happening. We just focus on these players who claim to be super fans who just tick off their tribe. I mean, we've seen it with Dan, Mike, Nina, now Shireen. Just super fans of the show who just can't get the part about, oh, you have to live on an island, you have to make people like you can't be annoying. And she just went on and on about these monkeys having sex.
I mean, well, that's great TV, but at the same time, I don't understand why she felt the urge to keep going. Like, does she have no self-awareness at all? Like, it was funny. Okay, at first, the audience probably found it more funny than the people there because you can tell they're all fed up with her. Not so much Carolyn. I think Carolyn's on the fence, but Tyler and Joaquin can't stand her, especially Joaquin. And I think Tyler and Joaquin might be able to pull Carolyn in and get rid of Shireen if they don't swap up first. I really think it's going to happen.
And Max is savvy enough not to go against the majority. So, yeah, if White Collar goes to tribal, Shireen is totally on the bottom. I mean, with her getting naked, I mean, it's one thing to get naked and go swim by herself. It's another thing to walk up to somebody with like a chore to do, talking about dishes, just naked. Like no one does that. And like you said, at first this could be funny. I just saw 2 monkeys having sex. We're on Survivor. We're in the wilderness. Yeah, she just went on and on. She just wouldn't stop. And that's, I think, what just really, really ticked everyone off. Just not smart gameplay at all.
And the thing with that is that wasn't even like editing tricks where it was like, oh, they cut to someone's reaction after somebody said something. That could have been days later, months later, who knows. This was, she was talking and the shot had all of them in it just laying there annoyed. Like, it was complete reactions to what she was saying for at least some of it. Not all of it, but at least some of it. And I thought that was pretty telling, that Shireen really is in a lot more trouble than it seemed at first. It seemed like she was actually able to pull in Carolyn, but it doesn't look like she's with her anymore. It looks like Shireen's on the bottom.
Yeah, where'd you have her in your power rankings?
I'll look right now. I think I had her actually kind of high, because I had her way higher than you did.
You did? I had her at like 15 or 14. I had her pretty low.
I had her at number 8, and I was scared at the beginning here, because I didn't think White Collar was going.
We would have racked up some serious points.
I know. I didn't see that coming at all. But I think that like, once again, what this season's doing is they're actually setting a lot of stuff up for later episodes, which doesn't always happen in seasons. Like, sometimes they get a little lazy with it and they get their camera hogs and they just focus on the camera hogs, and then they'll just focus on the tribe that's going to tribal. That's not happening right now. We got a really even edit. Like, a really even edit all across.
Right. There's no one, I mean, who could you say is a camera hog at this point? Like,
no one.
If anyone, maybe Jen, but she's so likable and gives great confessionals that you can't even really say that. And there's 3 tribes too, which totally helps with evening out the editing. Okay, so do you want to move to the blue collar
Yeah,
scene.
the blue collar was my favorite part. I just wanted to say too. Everybody was saying Max was a camera hog before this. He got zero tonight. He got nothing. He was on screen for like 5 seconds. So there really is. There's no Russell Hanson this season, which is good. There's nobody who's just dominating all the airtime. But yeah, blue collar. That was intense, man. That was fun.
I
They're
mean, this started. It just went on and on, but it started really. We didn't see any of this in the preview. It was actually started. It wasn't about work or anything. It was just Dan laying in the shelter. He has a confessional saying my mouth is my strongest asset and weakest asset. Blah blah blah. Who knows what he was getting at? I mean, he knows he needs to shut up. And then they were joking around. It seemed like Rodney was actually having a good time with him, and out of nowhere, Dan just goes, "Your mother's a whore." Out of nowhere.
Yeah, I once again, it seemed like it was out of nowhere, but everybody seemed to. I mean, granted, you don't call people's moms a whore, especially when you know them for what 8 days, 7 days. But it seemed like everybody was like not as against Dan as Rodney was. Like it seemed like Rodney just really, really, really like went off after that. Like I'm not saying I'm siding with Dan. I'm just saying it seemed like that really just like bursted Rodney, and for the rest of the episode, he just became a bitter, bitter, bitter person.
Well, it seemed really uncalled for. I don't even know what
It
they
was
were
uncalled for.
talking about. I mean, even if you have a legitimate fight, that's not something you say, especially to someone from like Massachusetts who
I know.
just a Boston guy who I mean, they love family up there. That's important. I mean, he has his sister's name tattooed on his arm. Like, this guy doesn't mess around with when it comes to family. So for him to just say your mother's a whore out of nowhere, like that I mean, that would totally take Rodney off, and I don't
Oh
blame
yeah.
him for getting mad. If someone said it to me, I'd be like, all right, I don't like it wouldn't faze me at all. But for Rodney,
Well,
I can totally.
I'm the same. I'm the same way as you, where it's like, okay, that's what they're gonna say. Like, okay, do they know my mother? Probably not. So, like, what the hell do you want from me? But like, this just shows how bad Rodney's social game is. His social game is horrendous. Today showed how bad his social game. He was yelling at everybody about everything. That man needs food really, really bad because he's falling hard. Like he's struggling right now.
Yeah, but again, Mike also then went out the girls, and
Oh,
we'll
he's
get into
terrible.
that later. But it's not like it just everyone's against Rodney because there's so many people causing waves in that tribe. It's like Lindsay, Dan, Mike, Rodney are all stirring up the pot over there. So it's not like
Really,
one of these people have like a huge target on their back because there's just so many people.
Sierra's been pretty invisible, and it's funny that Sierra's been invisible just because she's probably playing the smartest because she's not opening her mouth about this stuff. She's not screaming in people's faces like you don't do that on this game. And Kelly is
Hey,
the
Kelly,
MVP
Kelly
of that
got
tribe.
Kelly got a confessional
She's
today.
great on that tribe. She's very observant. She's good. She knows what she's doing. The other ones, I don't think any of them do.
Yeah, Kelly had that awesome story about how when she was a cop and they would get a call from a bar fight and they wouldn't hurry over there, wouldn't take priority, of other things. By the time they got there, most of the time they would, sit down, have worked it out. It's totally, totally true. I remember a
Yeah.
teacher telling me, like the difference between boys and girls is girls will hold a grudge over the smallest thing forever, but guys, she would put two kids on timeout during recess, come back from recess, and they'd be, playing with blocks and race cars after just
Yeah.
fighting. They'd just get over it.
That's how it is. I mean, I remember I'd be playing sports with my friends, and it would be like, "Oh, I'm going to take my ball and go home," and then 10 minutes later, they're walking back because they realize that they're going to be bored, and it's not worth being mad over. And I feel like that's exactly what the whole Rodney, Dan, Mike thing was going to be. And then Lindsay came in, and she was going hard. And any fans that she had, I'm not religious at all. I don't care what anybody's beliefs are on it, but I'm not religious at all. When she said that thing about the psalm thing, that like it was just so unnecessary. When she said the thing about God coming down, is he going to start? Like it was just unnecessary. Like it just like there was no reason to say that. That was the same thing as Dan calling Rodney's mom a whore. Like why are we doing this? There's no reason for this.
Yeah, how did this fire stay lit? Did God come down and build it? Like I mean, it was funny, I have to say, and I'm sure she did work hard and build the fire. And it seems like Sierra and Lindsay are not like just being lazy
No.
people and not working. It seems like maybe Rodney is a little bit, but he had a pretty fair argument saying, look at me, I'm shaking, let me eat, I don't get wood. I don't really know. We're not getting confessionals from other people about Rodney's work ethic. so it's kind of hard to say, who should we side with here. But yeah, Lindsay went hard there.
Yeah, I thought that was unnecessary. I mean, I really thought that this whole thing was just. It was like, okay, guys, you're playing this game. You need to get people to like you to win this $1 million. You need to know when to stop. And Mike does not know when to stop. Rodney doesn't know when to stop. Dan's already proven he doesn't know when to stop. And tonight, Lindsay showed she doesn't know when to stop. Kelly and Sierra are the only ones who know when to stop, but we haven't heard enough from Sierra to know where her head's at all. At least tonight we saw from Kelly. I don't think Kelly's a huge Rodney fan. I don't think she's on Team Rodney.
Yeah, I don't think she's on Team Mike though either. That's the thing. I don't think she's really taking a side here.
Yeah.
We still haven't heard from Sierra. We really don't know. But they were fighting a while. They fought for one scene, and then we had the no-caller surfing. Anything there that you want to talk about?
I really think. Well, yeah, I really think that this was maybe to make us like Haley and Jen a little bit more, because I really feel like Haley's getting a great edit here. I really do think she's getting a great one, where they're showing her in little things, and she's always getting like the positive, like, oh yeah, we like Haley's, she's always enjoying herself. But I think this was also to show that this tribe is trying to be a really positive tribe. And I think the reason Nina went at the end wasn't because she was weaker than Will. It was because she's so negative and they just don't want to deal with it. Whereas Will is a very positive person. He's a very positive guy, no matter how bad he is at challenges.
Yeah, he's more of a free spirit, would you say? More no caller.
Wait,
how many times did we hear the callers mentioned in confessionals today?
What we need to do is on Phil and Will, every week, every episode that we do, we need to have our caller allotment of at least 50 in the hour that we do. We have to have one every minute. Otherwise, it's a bad podcast. Because nobody will know if it's white collar, blue collar, and no collar if we don't say it every single time.
Right. I mean, I'm pretty sure production told them if you say the callers in your confessionals, if you use those labels, we'll give you more airtime. Like it literally feels like that, because every confessional has someone saying that's not very white collar, that's more blue collar. It is just left and right. I mean, that's probably the only kind of lame part about the season so far. Otherwise, great cast. We've had great tribal council so far, but this whole caller theme, they're really beating it.
Half of it makes no sense. Kelly said tonight she's not used to blue-collar people being emotional. Aren't blue-collar people the people who are like all about family? Yeah, they might not cry all the time, but they're the ones who are like fighting for what they want to do. They're the ones who aren't the smartest, so they don't really know when to stop talking. Like, isn't that like the whole stereotype of blue-collar? Like, I've worked a blue-collar job. I'm pretty sure that those guys will say whatever, and half the time they'll yell at each other, and then 5 seconds later they're friends again. But that's emotional. Like, I would think white-collar would be the non-emotional people, and no-collar would just be like, everything's good, and you wouldn't get so much negativity. I feel like blue-collar should have the range of emotions.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why they're throwing in so much of this, but, like, we need a tribe swap to get rid of it.
The thing that happened was, I hate to say it, it totally was kind of a collar vote tonight, and I think we'll get right into it with the lizard. I think this had more significance than one would think. They were, the whole tribe. Joe caught this lizard. They fried it up. The whole tribe, except for Nina, tried this lizard. Everyone was like, "Come on, Nina, try it, try it." No, she said no. They continued chewing on it, and then as the scene's kind of ending, they look at Nina and they say, "You sure, Nina?" And she kind of looks at the camera, and then it just fades to black. Like, I thought there was some hope there, because in the preview we saw her shaking her head. Once that it faded to black, and then it was like, okay, Nina, you're done. Like, you're complaining about being on the outside. Your whole tribe is doing one thing. They're offering to, let you partake, and then you just shake your head, say no. And that's what did her in. I hate to say it. It was like a collar thing. They were no collars eating lizards. She's this, I guess, older white collar person, she said, and she didn't have the lizard.
And what it is with Nina is I almost felt like she was the person, she's the one who it's like, she's the friend who doesn't like sports. And you guys are all going to a basketball game and it's like $80 and they're never going to spend the money on it. And they've already told you no numerous times that they're not going to go to a game even if you ask them. But then when you don't invite them, they get mad at you. And then you do invite them, and then they don't do it anyway. Like, I feel like that's what Nina is, where it's like, no matter what you did, you were going to lose. She was going to say, you do not like me. And Jen has been calling her out the whole time, and I know that's been rubbing some people the wrong way on Twitter. I've been seeing that. But when Will calls her out, with how positive Will has been and how much he's been trying to be Team Nina, when he calls her out and says, I feel like she does it every time, it's telling. Like, it's very telling. And I get it's a stressful situation. That's probably why it happened. But I'm happy she's gone because I didn't want to watch it another week.
Oh, yeah, totally glad she's gone. And I love that basketball game or sports game analogy. And she might even be the person who says, okay, fine, I'll go, and then just complains about how expensive the ticket was, how boring the game is, and, stuff like that. So
yeah,
we'll get into tribal council. I really liked how Haley just called her out at the end. Like, you aren't being no caller. You must join us. Like, that was funny. That was too good. But yeah, we'll get into that. Next, we had the white collar looking for the idol, and this was cool. I liked this because I was really wondering if Tyler was going to tell anyone really if Carolyn found the idol.
Yeah, I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to tell Joaquin for a second there, but Tyler's best move right now is just keep your mouth shut and have all the knowledge, because he's the only one who knows clearly. Him and Carolyn, because Shireen and Max were looking. I don't care if they try to play it off like they were just following Joaquin around. They were looking for that idol, so they don't know that Carolyn has it. Tyler's the only one who knows.
It seemed everyone was, except for Carolyn, and she says, yeah, I'll watch the fire. If anything, I thought Carolyn should have gone and looked for it just to kind of, if anyone got suspicious, why isn't Carolyn looking?
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, she just chilled by the fire. Everyone else was looking, and then Joaquin brings Tyler aside and says, hey, look, here's the clue. And I agree with you. Great move by Tyler just to stay quiet. I was totally expecting him to spill the beans on Carolyn's idol, but why do it this early? I mean, you don't even know if you're going to tribal. You don't know if there's a swap. There's just no reason to do it. So kudos to Tyler for keeping his mouth shut.
And Joaquin's already proven himself to be untrustworthy when he came back and lied to all of them about with So. And yeah, he's worked his way into their good graces a little, but why tell that guy that and then have him be able to use it against you later on? Because he's still, I think, a little bit more on the bottom than Shireen, just because I think Carolyn might still be leaning a little more towards Shireen and Max. It's really close, but I still feel like that's happening. So why tell him that and then have him try to use it against you or Carolyn and get rid of one of them when you're in a pretty good spot right now?
Exactly, yeah. Tyler has nothing to worry about. His stock went way up. I do disagree with you, though. I think Shireen is at the bottom, more so than Joaquin, just because I think Carolyn and Tyler have that bond because she told him about the idol, and now Tyler and Joaquin are kind of, Joaquin called Tyler, he's my boy, I got to show him the clue. They're kind of buddy-buddy. Carolyn and Tyler are buddy-buddy, so that could be a 3. Not that Max would be on the outside, but definitely Shireen on the bottom.
Yeah, Max I don't think is in any trouble anytime soon. And he'll be in trouble, I think, after a tribe swap because people are going to realize that he's a threat. But right now, with the way the other tribes are set up, other than the threesome of Joe, Haley, and Jen, which what are the odds they all end up on the same tribe anyway, with the power? I don't think that's going to happen. Blue collar is feuding so hard and white collar is so broken up. When a swap happens, I don't know if they're going to be able to – I feel like the people who do know the game are going to be in an advantage, and I feel like Max could get an advantage. He should be hoping for a swap, really.
Yeah, the thing about a swap is that it is so based on luck. Like, once you have 3 tribes, who knows who's going to match with who and get along? It's so hard to say. So it really just kind of depends on where the pieces fall. Because if Max gets stuck, just kind of. What if it's like Max and Joaquin, and then hold like in the last 3 tribe seasons, we had the entirety of the Brains tribe, Cass, Spencer, and Tosh, just get what they moved. They all were on one tribe, and suddenly had all the power. So something like that, could happen.
Yeah, and Sarah ends up being the only brawn who gets sent to that tribe, and you just did something new. You didn't fade out. You just turned into like a robot for like 5 seconds. That was kind of funny. I didn't know if it was going to keep going, but you didn't fade out, so you were still able to be understood. Yeah, that's better, I guess. I mean, that hurt my ears, but hopefully it didn't hurt everybody else's ears. But yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. It is all about luck. I just feel like right now there's really no set in stone alliances except for the Joe, Haley, Jen one. I really feel like that's the only one. And then Max and Shireen are clearly closer, but I feel like they're both smart enough. They know that they got to turn on each other in a heartbeat. So do it. If you got to do it, you got to do it.
I don't think Max and Shireen are as tight as we think. I mean, we saw them go to tribal council in the first episode, and they voted together. And I mean, that's really it. since we haven't seen them in 2 episodes, you can have a conversation, I don't think. And Max can definitely tell that Shireen's getting on people's nerves, and he is a smart player to say, I need to be a majority. I'm not going to stick my neck out for someone who voted with me once. So I think they're not as tight as we thought. Okay, do you want to get into the challenge or anything else pre-challenge? I guess one thing is Dan and Rodney had like a kind of a little heart-to-heart, and Dan was like, oh, I didn't understand, you were like not feeling okay, like let's talk. And Dan kind of getting in. I don't think we had seen Dan and Rodney really have a nice conversation like that, especially after Dan had called his mom a whore, like just 2-3 scenes earlier.
Yeah, that goes back to your whole thing, though. Like, guys really don't hold grudges for as long. I feel like that's just kind of Dan's not a bad guy. I don't think Rodney's a bad guy. I think they understand that, like, we all make mistakes. We're hungry. We're struggling out here. Like, I don't think they dislike each other. My whole thing is, though, like, Rodney, man, he was venting hard. Like, he was venting, go back to your $100,000 ranch in Texas because that's all it costs, that shithole, like, whatever the hell he was saying. And he's like, in Massachusetts it costs $400,000 to live there because people actually want to live there. And I'm like, all right, like, I get it. You need to get it all out. But, like, you got to remember, this is still a game. And Dan has seemed a little bit closer to Mike than everybody else. So maybe you should go vent to Lindsay, and you guys can just, like, scream at each other until it's all gone and you're exhausted and then just walk back. I don't know about going to Dan.
Man, I just can't wait to see the tribe go to tribal. I mean, they might even not. They might just make it to the swap without even
that would be a crime.
It really would be.
They have to at least go to tribal. They have to.
We hope. We can only hope. Okay, so the challenge. What no color, what was that? What were they doing? I mean, from the moment it happened, I was like, wait, what? What?
Like, the reason that challenge runs 5-on-5 is because you need 5 people to do it, or at least do it well. So even if Nina falls down on her face, whatever her finger was doing right before that was going to be blocking the hole. So, like, some water would have been saved, and then they get a lot of water back, and they spill it all. Like, what were they doing? I don't get it at all.
They lost this challenge within, like, the first minute. You could just tell, like, it was done. Because blue collar and white collar were humming along. As soon as they dumped that first barrel of water, and like you said, just half of it hit the ground, and it was it. They lost. And it was just like, okay, dumb move. And then Joe takes a little. I mean, do you want to talk about this challenge? It was a pretty simple challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a hard challenge. It wasn't really an exciting challenge because no collar was so easily gonna lose. I mean, it just showed Will was weak, and this was just the editing trying to be like, see, they might get rid of Will. But I'm telling you, Vince probably would have been pretty helpful in that episode, huh? He would have been pretty helpful in that challenge. Big 6-foot-something Vince. That would have been something. I mean, They probably would have competed.
If they had Vince instead of Nina, they probably win that challenge. Or they at least get second, I would think, because Vince is a big, strong guy.
I feel like that challenge was set up where it was almost impossible for one tribe to pull away because it was such a short course, and all you had to do was dump water, and it looked like they each took the same amount of buckets to fill, no matter how much you ended up losing, because the buckets, it wasn't like you were going to save that much water. And then somehow, I mean, they just got blown out, and I feel like Survivor was expecting it where all three teams are going to be as close as blue and white collar were because it is hard to pull away.
Yeah, I mean, besides no collar blunder, I mean, it would have been great to see like a last minute finish at this challenge, like pouring the buckets in and then you're waiting and they edit it and it's dramatic. It just wasn't at all because of how much no collar screwed it up. So yeah, let's go post challenge here. We'll deal with the no collar tribe. I mean, what were they going to do here? We knew it was going to be kind of this Nina, Will, back and forth. Nothing that crazy, exciting really happened. Not like last week.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was still well edited because normally when somebody says right away, it's time for Nina to go, that normally means Nina's safe. So I was really worried for Will here. But with this, I really do think it just came down to Will comes over to Joe after the challenge. He's like, man, it's not on you. I had your back, all this stuff. He's hitting him on the chest. He's consoling him. Nina is off sulking, probably. Like, we didn't get to see what she was really doing, but every time she was talking to somebody, it was like she was whining about how she didn't fit in. With Will, he was very positive, and I think that was the difference. I think Nina would still be in the game had she been more of a positive force. Because I think that they trusted her more than they trusted Will, but you can only take it for so long. You don't know how much longer you're going to be with these people.
Right, and I think one of the interesting things we can look at here is Joe, Jen, and Haley. They had this alliance, and I think they definitely decided on Nina was going to be the one they vote for. Did Joe ever get included in that conversation between Jen and Haley saying, maybe we should vote Will? I don't trust Will. He didn't vote with us. He sucks at challenges. He's just as bad as Nina. Because all we saw there at the end when they were up for debate, it was confessionals from Jen and confessionals from Haley saying, we're between a rock and a hard place. Nina's a wet blanket, but Will sucks at challenges, blah, blah, blah. We didn't really see much from Joe, so I guess that shows us a little bit about that alliance, how Haley and Jen are the top two of that three-person alliance.
Well, Haley and Jen I feel like are almost kind of are going to use Joe down the line as like he's like their shield, where he's always going to be a bigger threat than the two of them, so get rid of him. And I feel like that's really going to help them down the line, and I feel like they're way tighter, but at the same time, I do think that there's a very good chance that they went back to Joe and said, hey, would you do this? Because I don't know why Haley exactly voted for Nina. I'm not for Will, I'm sorry. I'm not 100% sure why she did it.
I know why. I know why.
Why?
This was during tribal council. It was when Haley literally called her out. It's actually kind of awesome to see. You have to be no caller. We are these type of people. You might not be no caller in real life, but you're on a no caller tribe. You have to be no caller. She said no caller 1,000 times. That's why they probably aired it. And then Nina looked at her and said, I will. I realize I need to change. I'm going to be no caller. And I think Jen and Haley at that point were going to vote Will, but Jen stuck with Nina because I think it was Nina kept bringing up the hearing thing, and Jen has just had enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, what did he exactly say at Tribal? It was like, they look at me as having a disadvantage. She didn't say disability, disadvantage. And everyone's just rolling their eyes like, no, Nina, no, it's because you don't fit in. And I think that or Jen, and as much as Haley looked at her and said, fine, you'll change, I'll vote Will, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and I just think, I really do think Nina just kept digging her own grave by being not self-aware and constantly trying to use, I don't know if she was trying to, but constantly feeling like her hearing was causing her to be on the outs. Like, I feel like Joe and Haley are very understanding people. I get, like, the whole Jen snarkiness. Like, that's probably, I don't want to sound like a dick, but that's probably how I would react to it. I'd probably be the same way as her, where it's like, please just get off the island because I'm here living a dream, and all I'm doing is listening to you complain about living out my dream pretty much. Like, you're here. Be happy you're here. We're not being mean to you. Joe was not mean at all. Joe definitely came to play, and he seems like he's a great guy, like a legitimately great guy. Haley seems like she really cared about Nina. I don't get this whole thing.
And Joe, we didn't talk about this earlier. Joe had that conversation with Nina where he just went up, pat her on the back, say, hey, look, you're not on the outside. You're a part of the tribe. We want to include you. I mean, this is right before Nina denied the lizard. Again, just eat the lizard, Nina. But that was really telling you of Joe. He got super positive edit there, looking like just hero, a dude. And then he owns up to the challenge thing with the Nina strategy. So yeah, he looked great this episode. I guess we get into tribal. Do you have anything else pre-tribal? I mean, I guess we talked about a little bit of it already.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked, but, I mean, I still, when Will's name came up the second time, I really thought Will was done. I thought he was gone.
Exactly, because when they usually have the alliance, you would think they'd all vote the same way. Especially at, like, the third episode, you're getting rid of kind of two characters that are kind of dead weight. I mean, I don't want to call Will completely dead weight, but he's definitely on the outs. Bigger guy, not the most physically strong. So it's not like it totally matters who goes. So oftentimes they'll just build it up by the editing to make you think it's very close, when in reality it's not a close vote at all. This was actually close, and I was showed by Haley voting for Will.
Yeah, and my whole thing was then when the second Nina came up, I was like, okay, but Haley and Jen both voted for Will, so Will's definitely gone. And then when it was a Nina vote, I thought that it was Joe who voted for Will because he was like, you know what, Nina, I really feel bad about what I did. I put you in this situation. I'll take, like, the high road because he seems like he's that type of player. I was surprised it was Haley.
I was too. I thought Jen and Haley voted together. I was with your thinking there. When I saw that last vote, Nina, I was like, first of all, I was like, phew, thank God, get Nina out of here. Will's way more fun to watch. And then my next thought was, wait, how did that go down? Joe must have, I don't know, gone with Nina. But good for Haley. I mean, it's not like she probably knew Jen and you know what? I don't know. Do you think Haley knew that Jen was going to vote Nina? Or do you think Haley thought she was voting Will and Will was going to go home?
Haley didn't look surprised. So I think Haley kind of knew Jen was doing it. Because Haley didn't look surprised really at all after the vote. And she's had some of the best facial expressions so far this season. So you would think that she would have had another one in store for us had she thought that it was going to be Will going home and then Nina went. I think she kind of knew. But at the same time, I think she kind of felt bad for Nina, which, I understand why why Jen especially really didn't feel bad for her, because it can't be your only trait. Like, there has to be more to it.
Right. So I guess we're assuming that Jen, Haley, Joe agreed to vote Nina. Haley, made that promise to Nina, not a promise, but said you have to change. Nina says I will change. Haley knew Nina was going anyway. Out of respect, didn't want to vote her out. Instead, voted Will.
That's what I'm thinking. But I mean, at the same time, like, thank you to No Collar for making that a lot more dramatic for the TV viewers. Like, thank you, Haley, because that sure did make it more intense. Because I thought for sure Will was gone, and I was shocked, and I thought, there you go again, No Collar, you made another mistake. Like, you can't keep making mistakes when your tribe's that small.
Yeah, when that second Will vote came up, I became really worried. Especially since I had Will pretty high in my power rankings, because I thought Nina was just such a goner. But overall, fun episode. Not as good as the first two, but by no means a bad episode. Do you want to get into our boot list rankings? I want to hear them. You scored them this week, so I'm excited.
So everybody's numbers are definitely off because I scored them. No, Willie, you didn't get a point this week, so you're beating me by one after my perfect week that Vince Boot killed me.
I had Nina at 3.
You had Nina at 16.
16?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
At least that's what I think you did.
I think this Nina boot probably helped most of the boot list. I don't think anyone had Nina going that far.
Some people did, but at the same time, there weren't as many points this week as there were on the Vince week. Adam Klein finally got points. So he didn't have the perfect spoiled boot list. So no
more perfect boot list. Only took 3 episodes.
Yeah. Adam Klein has 3. Jokesters has 4. Lauren West has 5. Red Falcon Games, Alex Blackson, and Popsicle Inc. have 6. Sarah Hawkins and Jimmy Kanata have 9. Rob Kellogg has 10. Hannah Claire, Ann Blanston, and Dory Madrica all have 11, and that's the top 12. I was going to do top 10, but with a 3-way tie with 11 points. So, I mean, and a lot of people are hovering around the 13 to 18 range, so everybody's still right there in the running. What's up?
Where are our boot list? I'm curious.
You have 15 points. I have 16 points. I don't know what place that puts us in, but we're right there.
We're right there. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm not too far off. We had Vince going pretty far, but other than that, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was definitely a good episode for the season. Nina going home, I think, is going to be, in the long run, a good thing because, let's be honest, when you come to watch Survivor, you want to see the different, walks of life coming together. What are they going to do? What are the alliance going to be and all that?
The different callers, if you will.
Yes, the different collars. There we go. We have not been hitting our allotment of collars at all. See, we're going to get fired. We're going to get fired from our own podcast that we sponsor ourselves. We're going to get fired. But it was the same thing with Lisa Welchel, and I don't come to the show to sit there. I don't mind that people have had obstacles in their lives. I like to hear about it. That's good. That is good for TV. That gives you people to root for and people to root against, and that's awesome. But every single week, it was going to be the same thing, and we know it was. It was going to be, they don't like me, I don't fit in, I can't hear, so they look at me as an outsider. No matter what anybody did, that's just how it was going to be. I mean, Will's a great guy. Will seemed like he was really trying to make Nina fit in. Joe seemed like he was really trying to make Nina fit in. Haley even seemed like she was really trying to make Nina fit in. Jen, I can't say the same for you, but I'm not mad at you for it. I just don't understand, I'm happy. I'm happy she's gone. I'm just very happy she's gone because in the long run, I didn't need to see it till the final three because or Survivor's done it too many times before where we've had a character go way too far and it's the same story every single week and you're just like, I get it. Stop beating me over the head with it.
Yeah, I mean, every week Nina survives. If she did survive, it would be like, man, I way would have rather had her go home than any other character because this cast is bringing it this season. There's so many great people. I mean, from here on out, everyone that goes, I mean, we don't really know Kelly and Sierra that well, but hopefully we do. But everyone that goes, I'd be pretty bummed about. Maybe not Shireen. Shireen is getting annoying.
Shireen's annoying. Shireen actually, I was hoping she wouldn't be, but tonight she was pretty annoying. But the same thing is, Kelly's confessional tonight and her confessional the first episode, they were good confessionals. Like,
Yeah,
I enjoy
insightful.
listening to I like listening to Kelly talk. Sierra's really the only one we don't know, and it's not like she's hurting the show by being there because she's not giving us something to annoy her. She's just not really doing anything yet.
Right. No, we'll hopefully see more. And they haven't gone to tribal council yet, so it's a little bit understandable. But you know, okay. So we will be doing our prediction show for episodes 4 and 5 because we had a double header next week.
2 hours next week.
So we'll be doing our prediction episode on Sunday or Monday. It depends on what Phil and I are up to, but hopefully we'll get it out to you Sunday. And so for that, we would love for you guys who are listening to comment your predictions, so that we can bring up your predictions on next week's podcast, talk about them. We can agree with you, disagree with you, or if you have any questions, like what do you think is going to happen to this player, or hypotheticals, or
are we too hard on people? Like, are there some characters we're too hard on? Are there some characters we like too much? I mean, we still have that ridiculous love for Jen, and I did see tonight some people were starting to get a little mad at Jen's attitude. So, I mean, I still like her. I think it's entertaining. I think it's funny. I like her. So.
I think she's just being real. I don't think there's any malice behind it.
I agree.
She's just saying, look, it's getting annoying. Nina's getting on my nerves. You know, that's really it. MVPs, Phil. Who are the MVPs?
Okay, let's go back. I forgot all about this. This is one that the people are definitely going to have to vote on because we forgot about it. That's how few of MVPs there were this week. This was a really hard one to do.
I mean, I think, man, you're right. I was going to say Joe, but I guess he, totally, that whole challenge strategy came from him.
Yeah, so he blew the challenge.
It's hard to give it to Joe. Anybody on Blue Collar who we can give it to?
You know what? I'm going to nominate, for my tribe, I'm going to nominate Kelly, just because Kelly stayed out of it. She was very level-headed, so I'll nominate Kelly for my tribe. I don't know where you're going with yours.
Who do I have? I have Vince and So are gone, and I'm left with Dan. Oh no, Dan, Shireen, Jen,
and Joe.
And Joe. I have those. You know what? I'll put up Joe just because I think he did a good job consoling Nina, and he also made a mistake with the challenge thing, but then he took credit for it. He owned his mistake. He didn't blame it on anybody else. He didn't say Will sucks at challenge. That's why we lost. He really took credit for that, and that's very, very admirable. Just a stand-up move by Joe, and he's just he's a great player, great guy. I'll nominate Joe.
You're politicking hard here, man. You're trying to get out of the negatives for once.
No, I have my negative 2 points. I've had MVP.
No, you're at negative 3.
Oh yeah, negative 3, and I've had MVP in my team. Joe is in the premiere, and then Dan for the last episode because no one really was. But yeah, I've had both MVPs, and I'm still negative. So that's not good. The Phantom Tribe finally took a hit this week with Nina going home.
Yeah, you're tied with the Phantom Tribe. Now, I'd say the MVP for that tribe, I mean, it would have to be between Carolyn and Joaquin because it can't be Rodney, it can't be Lindsay, and it certainly cannot be Will because Will was in a lot of danger of going home. So, Carolyn or Joaquin?
Maybe Joaquin. Why not? Just because he did share the clue with Tyler. Hey, you could nominate Tyler too.
I could nominate Tyler. I'm between I actually can nominate Tyler, Kelly, or Haley because Haley's getting such a positive edit. I just feel like she's I feel like she's getting the winners edit.
She was an MVP though. It's not about editing.
Kelly or Tyler?
Yeah, I would nominate Tyler if I were you.
Well, I keep overlooking Tyler. Maybe there will be such an overwhelming amount of votes for Tyler that I'll get it anyway. I feel like Tyler's going to get. You know what? I will go Tyler because I feel like people like Tyler more than they like Kelly, at least right now. But you can still vote for Kelly if you want. Maybe I'll get 2 MVPs in one episode and I'll just blow
No,
you out
you
of the
can't.
water
You
here.
can't. No. Okay, so you're
No.
nominating Tyler. It sounds like. I think I would honestly vote for Tyler just because he did it such a good job by staying put and not telling anyone about Carolyn's idol when he really had so many opportunities to. And we see that so much on Survivor. Someone gets a piece of information and they just can't keep it to themselves. They have to talk about it, for better or worse. I mean, we see this all the time. People say, I found an idol, yay. I'm not telling anybody. That's what they say the moment they find it. And then even in that same episode, maybe an episode later, they spill the beans, tell someone. They claim that it's strategic and using it as leverage, but it's just because they couldn't hold it in any longer. So I really do give credit to Tyler. Yeah. So anything else, Phil? We have our MVP candidates: Joaquin, Tyler, and Joe. Joe still did a good job. He was consoling Nina and voted in the majority to get Nina out.
Yeah, and Will needs the points really bad because he's got 4 people left. And 2 of them look like they're in a lot of trouble. So yeah, Will needs the points. But Tyler clearly deserves to win it because, he's actually made good alliances. Tyler might be in the best position right now in this game because it seems like he has the numbers where no matter who he's stuck with from the white collar after a swap, they're going to be on his side.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very true. But we'll get into that prediction stuff on Sunday or Monday. So yeah, please leave your predictions so we can talk about them. Questions, predictions. You can tweet us at Phil_and_Will. I don't know how many.
There's
people...
2 underscores. Phil _and_ Will.
And then be sure to comment on MVP as well when you write your prediction down. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you probably Sunday, maybe Monday. All right, thanks.